JJ Zacharyson, the editor-in-chief at numberFire.com. It's April 15th, 2015, and I'm here to talk a little daily fantasy baseball. Going to talk the late slate since there's 4 games going on right now that you obviously can't play and can't use those players. So let's first talk about last night. Last night was a really good example as to why strikeouts matter in daily fantasy baseball. We saw Matt Harvey strike out a lot of batters. He didn't have the best outing in the world, but he still scored a decent amount of fantasy points because of those strikeouts. But then on the flip side, you saw what could happen if you can go deep into games, which we saw with Shane Green, one of the options that I threw out there yesterday on this very show, and Despaigne, who pitched pretty well last night against the Diamondbacks as a cheap pitching option. So, you can kind of see why strikeouts matter, but at the same time, if your pitcher does not get those strikeouts, if they do go deep into games, they can still hold that fantasy value for you. Some of the other guys we talked about last night, or yesterday, Nelson Cruz, he homered, which was huge. He now has 5 home runs in 4 games. We're going to talk about him in a little bit, and that was a great play. Anthony Rizzo, unfortunately, did not pan out. He did get on base once. He hit a single, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to hit one deep to help your fantasy squads out. But hopefully, it was a good night overall. Today, pitching kind of sucks. You don't have any aces going tonight, really. The best options out there, I'll talk about them now. One of them is Brandon Morrow for the Padres. I'm going back to that San Diego Padre well, where they're pitching against the Diamondbacks team. That, again, this is the 3rd time I'm saying this week. The Diamondbacks are going from one of the best hitters parks in the league in Chase Field to Petco Park, which is one of the best pitchers parks. So when you see that, you know that their numbers are going to dwindle a little bit. And that's why you can target a San Diego Padres pitcher, which tonight is going to be Brandon Morrow. Hopefully, like last night we saw, Brandon Morrow can go deep into this game, maybe strike out 5 or 6 batters, maybe go 7 innings, get the win, and walk away. Vegas sees this game at a 6.5 over-under, which is very low. People saw that as a trap yesterday, but clearly Vegas knew what they were doing with that over-under, and hopefully they see the same thing today. The Diamondbacks have the lowest team total in the entire day. So as a result, I think Brandon Morrow is a really good option, and he's pretty cheap across the industry. And that's important tonight. You're going to find cheap pitching, and as a result, you're going to be able to spend more on hitting. There's really no reason to really spend up on pitching. You can't really spend on pitching because the pitching options are so poor. One of the more expensive guys is Lance Lynn, who on a normal slate, with more aces available, would be kind of a middle-of-the-road price pitcher. But tonight he's one of the more expensive ones. He's going to be facing a Brewers lineup that's righty-heavy. So the first 4 guys in the Brewers lineup, we all know them. They're righty-heavy. Lance Lynn is a right-handed pitcher. He actually throws to a 280 WOBA against right-handed batters, which is really good news for him. He has an 8.8 career strikeout per 9 ratio, which is pretty strong. I think Lance Lynn is a really safe cash game option. And I do think that Brandon Morrow, too, is a cash game option just because of the poor slate. So I'm going to throw both of those guys in tonight in the pitcher spot. And if you're playing on DraftKings and whatnot, I think that you can use both of them as well and still feel fine about the guys that you're throwing in or the batters that you're going to be throwing in just because those guys are cheap. From a GPP standpoint with pitchers, you're going to see lineups all over the place. There's going to be a lot of different pitchers being used just because the slate is so poor. So I think that focusing on cash games tonight with those 2 guys and then just throwing in a bunch of lineup combinations with different pitchers is probably the way to go tonight with GPPs. Hitters, like I said, I'm going to talk about Nelson Cruz again. The dude is on fire. He's got 5 home runs in 4 games. He's got another lefty matchup tonight. As I said yesterday, he has great splits whenever he's in that platoon. It's kind of tough to fade him. I will say that I would rather play him on DraftKings because his FanDuel price rose about $500 overnight. So I would rather play him on DraftKings where he's actually cheaper despite the fact that there's a higher salary there. So I like Cruz on DK. Another guy that I like on DraftKings more than FanDuel tonight, another higher price guy, is Buster Posey. So it's a really interesting matchup that you have there. You have Tyler Matzik for Colorado, who's a lefty pitcher who sees really, really extreme lefty-righty splits. And when I say extreme, I mean extreme. He's got a 372 WOBA against right-handed bats, which is pretty bad, right? Against left-handed bats, it's a 199 WOBA. The sample size isn't massive here, but it's still something to keep in mind that you might want to target those right-handed Giants bats tonight. One of those could be Buster Posey if he's back in the lineup. I really like him on DraftKings where he's not even the most expensive catcher. But I think that you could probably still fit him in on FanDuel just because you might be going with a guy like Brandon Morrow, who's cheaper at the pitching spot, allowing you to spend on batters. So Nelson Cruz and Buster Posey I like Todd Frazier as well tonight against Travis Wood, kind of as a throw-in. But those two other guys I would probably target more as higher price guys. Another Cincinnati Red that I really like, who's more cost-effective, is one that our algorithm seems to like a lot tonight, and that's Marlon Byrd. So Travis Wood, who actually started his career in Cincinnati, he has I'll go back. When the Reds are facing lefty pitchers, Marlon Byrd usually switches spots with Jay Bruce in that lineup. So Marlon Byrd, a righty, going against a lefty, that's a good matchup. Travis Wood has I think a .99 home run per 9-inning ratio. He's a fly ball hitter, which means Marlon Byrd could have an opportunity to hit a home run. And our algorithms actually like his chances of hitting a home run tonight. Compared to other players, of course. We can't guarantee home runs because that would just be silly. So I like Marlon Byrd a ton against Travis Wood. Another guy that I like for the Astros is Chris Carter. I think this is more of a GPP option just because the Astros aren't hitting very well right now at all. But he's going up against Drew Pomeranz for the A's. He has the platoon split. The thing with Chris Carter is that his ISO is actually higher whenever he faces righties than lefties in his career, but his WOBA is higher against lefties. He should bat in the cleanup spot. Our algorithms give him the fourth best chance to hit a home run tonight, so because of that, I think you can throw him in a GPP. I don't know if I necessarily trust him in a cash game just because you can spend more on hitters tonight given the way that pitching is kind of setting up with the slate. But I do think that if you're looking for some power, you can look his way. So him along with Marlon Byrd is two very cheap options. Again, some of the more expensive guys I like Todd Frazier, but more so Nelson Cruz and Buster Posey. I don't want to say this out loud, but I'm going to. I don't mind Anthony Rizzo again, even though he's burned us the last couple times we've used him. And then that pitcher, you have Brandon Morrow and Lance Lynn. Morrow going against the Diamondbacks again with that park shift, and Lance Lynn going against a righty-heavy Brewers lineup. And Lynn historically has done very well against right-handed bats. Stacks. Everyone loves some stacks. I think tonight's going to be kind of a really strange GPP night, and the main reason for that, again, is the pitching. But some stacks that I really like are the Blue Jays, who are going against Erasmo Ramirez. The Blue Jays, again, they're going to be very expensive bats to throw into your lineup, but because of the cheap pitching, you're probably going to be able to use them in a GPP. And if you're on DraftKings where you can stack 6 batters, I think that you're capable of doing that tonight. The Royals, I don't mind against Kyle Gibson. And then I've mentioned them a couple times with Marlon Byrd and Todd Frazier, but I don't mind the Reds as a sneakier stack tonight against Travis Wood. And the main reason, and it's kind of strange, Vegas doesn't seem to be on the Reds tonight, so I think it could be more of a contrarian pick to go with the Reds, but I don't mind them tonight against Wood. So stacks, Blue Jays, Royals, and Reds is a sneaky one. Make sure to check out numberFire.com, check our projections, check our Q&A app, ask questions. We're going to be there for you to help you win some money in daily fantasy baseball. Good luck tonight, everyone.